Happy Monday or unhappy Monday. I don't know how your Monday's going. Mine went pretty well, so mine is in fact a happy Monday. I did get puked all over on me by my daughter a couple hours ago. That was awesome. Happened to my wife a couple times. This is the first time it really happened to me. Definitely not the most enjoyable thing. I'm going to drop the music just a little bit lower. I've had some people tell me that sometimes my music is a little bit loud. Tonight we're just going to be going through kind of the final steps on the dropship. Going to do some weathering, just more chipping and scratching, and then we're going to utilize a bit of streaking grime from AK Interactive, as well as a little bit of this wash color I like. It's like a Cryptek Armor Shade from Citadel. It's really good for kind of focused rust streaks. And then we'll probably get into a bit of pigment powders a little bit later on after that. We do have a couple details I got to paint as well on some of the weapon pods. I did forget about those. I've also got a couple like muzzle bores that I got to paint black. And if my voice sounds lispy, that is because I, as a 33-year-old man, have braces. And I have elastics that I have hooking my bottom jaw to my top jaw. It's very flattering. Feels awesome. Anyways, let's hop over to the painting desk. I got a few things prepped, and let's hop into it. All right, testing, 1, 2. Okay, I see my voice on the audio levels. Okie dokie, let's get into it. I've got my number 2 detail brush. That is a, actually, I just realized I have to drop my desk a little bit. I have a adjustable desk. I can raise and lower it. That way, if I'm just working on miniatures, like prepping them or something, or doing terrain work, I can stand. It's quite nice. And I just didn't quite have it lowered all the way. When I went to put my elbows on my table, it felt a little bit high. So, yeah. Anywho, got a few details on these weapon pods here that we got to paint. And as you can see, my bangs are getting very luscious. They're popping into the camera here. We try to stay back just a little bit. And I will zoom in just slightly. Way it'll keep my hair a little bit more out of frame. We're going to start with a little bit of Chaotic Red from Army Painter. It's just like a darker crimson red. I'm not going to bother blocking these in with black because it's just a bit of dark gray. And the little bit of gentle highlighting we have there will actually just help to get the red to saturate a little bit more. I'm probably going to come in with a little bit of a black wash just to fill some of these recesses afterwards. That way, if I do mess some of these up, it's not the end of the world. I'll have to get that little missile or whatever it is on the inside of the middle. It's probably not a missile, it's probably lasers. This might be laser pods, but it's, who knows, because there's also these pods with what are very obviously barrels. I don't know if these are supposed to be the auto cannons. There's also PPCs, and maybe these are supposed to be the lasers. I don't know. But there's also supposed to be a bunch of LRM-20s on this dropship, and they're visible. Maybe that's what these are. These open up and reveal LRM-20s. There are 3 of them, actually. You know what? That's probably exactly what it is. Okay, so you know what? We're going to change, because I'm just thinking about this on the fly. We're going to change our approach just slightly. We're going to jewel these, all of these, very, 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 very lightly. So I'm not even going to use red. I'm going to use green because I'm a madman. We are going to block all these in with a little bit of black just to give a very dark background to work off of. I think I'm going to do all of them green. I just think green will stand out well. I mean, red would stand out well as well. You know what? No, we'll do red. We were going to do red, like missile tips here before. We'll just do red lasers instead. But we do got to block all these in with black. I'm just going to kind of fill that recess around what I'm going to call these to be as laser diodes. Giant laser diodes. I'm going to quickly paint a gradient of red going into the bottom left hand corner, and then we are going to paint like a white dot in the top right hand corner. So we're going to leave these mostly dark. There's a few areas I might have to touch up here. That's okay. It's just black. Thought I'd done all the details at the end of last stream. I was like, yeah, cool, let's varnish this. And then immediately after I finished the stream, I went to go take photos of this. And I was just like, oh my god, I totally forgot about these weapon pods. Like, I just completely glossed them over. I was just so excited to try to finish this thing. I definitely knew I still had some weathering and stuff to do, but this was a bit of a surprise that I overlooked this. Good enough. Oops. Streaking grime and stuff on this, so getting a little bit dirty is totally fine. Pretty slow Monday for me. Work is dying down a little bit right now just because a lot of people in my unit are going to be going on summer vacation. And I do like massive block leaves in different waves at units just to kind of burn a bunch of leaf all at once. Going to be doing that in the next week or so. Going 3 weeks of summer vacation, essentially. It's like being in high school. Except shittier. Hey, what's up, Warwolf? Missed the last 2 streams since I was on vacation, but now I'm back. Nice, where'd you go? Where was your vacation at? Gone to Mexico a couple times. I went to Mexico in 2023. It's kind of the last real vacation I had. Definitely love Mexico. I'm a big fan of the Yucatan. Maya Riviera area, Playa del Carmen, Tulum. So, if you haven't noticed, I've done a couple like short notice during the week streams, painting little sessions. I was going to call it a podcast. It's not a podcast. It's a painting stream. Anywho, been doing them kind of random. I think I'm going to start making them a regular thing during the week. Probably do Mondays and Thursdays just for a little 2-hour session from like 8:30 to 10:30. Gives me time to take care of things I need to at home, hang out with my wife, pay my respects, then not be rushed. Also gives me a little excuse to, you know, go hide away in my little corner of our shared office to do this. Well, true, it wasn't a vacation per se, just seeing some family members in the States, some from Puerto Rico, but it's still a good weekend getaway. Hey, that's vacation. Visiting families vacation, me too. I go vacation to Ontario occasionally. Same thing to Edmonton. Definitely feels like a vacation to me too, because I live in the middle of bumfuck in Manitoba. Right in the middle of nowhere. Just for work, you know, not by choice. I guess by choice, by way of occupation, but definitely not where I'd pick to live if I had a bigger say. Hopefully that'll change in the not too distant future. I'm gonna go ahead and block in kind of the ends of these muzzles in some black, just that way if somebody is looking at them where their muzzles are, they see kind of the indication of an open, clear barrel. Nothing fancy, just doing little black circles. Some of these don't have the biggest indents. All right, that's all of them. Yeah, so I did a few short streams, loving the progress of the dropship. Yeah, thanks a lot. It's been a fun little project. I was originally going to paint this in olive drab. I had actually painted it olive drab. If I was to scratch, actually you can kind of see I scuffed a little bit of the paint, and there's a little bit of olive drab showing through. I was going to paint this in like 3rd Star League colors, but then I did a little bit more digging, and I realized that 3rd Star League doesn't have access to the Overlord C yet, so I decided to shit can that idea and do this instead. I was thinking about doing a little bit of touch-ups on this emblem, but I don't really care too much. It was just a really quick freehand that I did on stream, and I'm happy enough with it. I'm probably going to do a couple little dings and scratches over top of it, a little bit of streak and grime, kind of in that general vicinity anyway. So, all right, let's get to jeweling these little lasers. Oh, I forgot. There's a couple center bits I gotta do. This one, that one, that one, that one. Okay, now we're good. Grab that crimson color. We're just gonna go ahead and kind of throw it in the bottom left quadrant of all of these lasers. We're not going to throw a huge amount, just enough to kind of cover bottom left quadrant. Zoom this in a second when I go on to the next one. Just kind of on a roll here, and I don't want my paint to dry on my brush. There we go. Pardon me, my throat's a little bit dry. I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see a little bit better. Hopefully my camera can keep up and doesn't kick this out of focus. Oops, got a little bit too much on my brush. I didn't really thin this paint too much. Doing a nice little base coat for the brighter reds that I'm going to layer on top of this. Again, just kind of hitting this bottom left quadrant, just a little bit of paint. All this paint's going to eventually get covered up by brighter reds, essentially. On to the next one. This will go pretty quick too, because we're just going to be rolling through the layers and turning this thing like it's a Lazy Susan paint masterpiece. Not that I think this is a paint masterpiece by any means. I'm saying that mostly in jest, but you know what I'm saying. It's like an artist's Lazy Susan. Just a little bit of moisture into my brush so I can thin some of this chaotic red out just a little bit. I think this is the last one, yeah. We work through this one. So back to this one. So as you can see, there's just like a very small indication of some red. It's very hard to see because it's a very dark red over top of black. Looking at what Werewolf 22 said, have to watch the recorded streams. I want to see how you did those details. Yeah, I've got the last 2 streams getting uploaded right now as I'm streaming. I live in the middle of nowhere, so my internet really sucks and it takes a long time. So I'm doing those right now is a little bit behind, but the second stream, no, the first stream that I did with this is up. The second stream is not. That's what it is. Second and third. And the first stream had like all the work on the stars, so you can at least see that. Yeah, the details will be up shortly. All just the random, like the weapons and the little mechanical bits. So I'm just coming in with like this color is a what is it, dragon red? Pretty sure it's dragon red. Double check here. Yeah, dragon red from Army Painter. And this is a very older mix, like a much older mix. This paint bottle rather, is from like, God, the mid 20 teens. It's lasted a long time. I go ahead and gently scrub this area with water because I got a little bit of red on some of that gray. I mostly got it off. It's more than enough. It's good enough for now. We're not doing like crazy jeweling on this. We're just getting like indication like, hey, these are lenses. So I just want a little bit of red. I'm just going to reinforce it a little bit more on this one. Try not to touch the little edges there with my brush. Sometimes I got to remember to go at more of a straight-on angle rather than having my brush angled coming in, because sometimes the side of my brush will hit other areas, and then I have to go back and touch things up. Not really fun. Uh-oh. I hear my daughter crying. My daughter's crying. Wife is dealing with it right now, but I may need to pause the stream if things get a little bit hectic. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, my daughter did puke on me pretty much head to toe a couple hours ago, so feeling kind of cold-like symptoms the last couple days. Just a generally cranky kid, but today she was pretty good until the puking incident that was. Yeah, 6 months with her was like a big turning point. That's when I started getting like a noticeable amount of free time that we could start kind of getting. We had a routine and all that good stuff. Our daughter wasn't quite as needy. Largely independent now, you know, a bit over a year old. Still a little bit needy, but could be worse. I'm just going to take a brief pause here, folks. I just want to make sure it's stuck. Okay, folks, all is good in the world. My daughter is doing just fine. Went back to sleep. We'll get back to working here. Sounded like my wife had it under control, but I figured I'd just double check. Here, still working with that dragon red. Fill some of these areas. This is the last one, fairly certain. And then I'll move on to the next color. Reinforce this one a little bit. Again, I'm just reinforcing the bottom left quadrant of these little bubble appendages. What I'm assuming are to be laser lenses. I've got two. I think we're good to move on to the next color, which is pure red from the Army Painter. Also, a very, very old paint that I have kicking around. About the same time frame, probably like 2015. Maybe 2016. Got the Army Painter Mega Set way back in the day. Dabbling in my early 20s with miniature painting. Put them away for a number of years and then came back to them right before COVID hit, just kind of by coincidence. I think because of COVID, I just sat around painting for a while. Got kind of good at it. Coming in with that pure red and just kind of filling in little little areas within the previous red. So I'm not completely covering it. Kind of finding that like very bottom left corner, and I say that with like proverbial air quotes, hypothetical air quotes, however you want to say that phrase. Getting that in air quotes. There's not really corners on circles, but kind of in that little apex of the bottom left quadrant. That's where we're going to reinforce that red. Wow. Monday night brain is just cooked, dude. Good thing that like the varnish had quite a bit of time to kind of set and cure. It is like a polyurethane acrylic based varnish. It's just AK interactive stuff, but definitely I find, you know, letting it cure for a day or two, like it just gets nice and hard, and you know, you don't really have to worry too much about handling it too rough and not having it really have set in. I'm gonna go ahead and grab just a little bit of Evil Sun Scarlet. This is the brightest red we're gonna use, and we're just basically gonna put like a bold dot in that bottom left quadrant. I'm just going to repeat this process over and over, and then we're going to go to the white dots. Those white dots will go in the opposite top right hand corner. Quick and dirty. Whoops. Kind of flood that a little bit. Nice. I managed to kind of clean that off. I just made a little bit of a mistake there and got red all over the weapon pod by accident, which I didn't want. So it's just my finger slipped as I was moving it over. Go ahead and grab this. You applied varnish when you finish a given layer, and like the stars and nebulas, for example. So I should have, because I should have applied some varnish after doing the star work, because when I was handling the miniature, even with gloves and not squeezing it too hard like an ape, I still rubbed off just a little bit of paint on a couple of areas. Not much, just very, very small amounts, but enough that it's noticeable. So get that to focus. I should have, and I do sometimes do that in between certain layers, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm going to be applying like certain kinds of washes or anything, and I don't want any thin layers below to get affected by that, throwing a little bit of satin varnish and then some ultra matte over top of the satin to kill the shine. The satin protects, kind of like a gloss would, that has like very similar properties as a gloss varnish does, just not as shiny, but it will protect. And then putting that ultra matte over top kills the shine, brings the finish back down, and then you can continue your work, and it kind of acts as a save point within your painting, all your paint work, because as you saw there, like I had an area where I got a little bit of paint. I just quickly rinsed my brush, flooded that area with water, and just scrubbed it. And you can basically quickly scrub some paint off an area. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just slightly more here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white ink. I'm going to run this off on my fingernail so it's nice and thin. I'm just going to come up and just give tiny little taps. Just ever so slight. Boom. Try to get this more in focus. There we go. Quickly jeweled. That was like 15 minutes to do all of these, like start to finish, like not including the little interruption. That was super quick. Another one down. Next one done. I'm gonna smash through these here. Oops. Pardon the angle, I'm just trying to get through these quickly so we can get onto the weathering stuff, because that's a little bit more fun. So in this area here where I made this like extra bold white dot, I don't want that to stay like that, so I'm just going to come in with just a little bit of black. I'm literally just going to cover it, because that whole corner up there is pure black anyways. So I'm just going to cover that and let that sit for a minute. Not even a minute, it's going to dry in less than a minute. I'm going to go ahead and grab that white ink again. Quickly cover that. Double check my audio levels. I'm just going to quickly redo that little dot. That's better. It's kind of nice because I'm using the a black ink that has a bit of a satin finish to do the black base coating. It actually reflects a little bit of the light, because I have a light coming from my top right down here. It's actually creating just natural highlight points on those little orbs. So it actually helps me guide to where I want to put those little dots. It just fits. And where it fits, the dot sits. Oh. Bold there. White again here. Just letting that black ink dry quickly. Better. All right. That was the last one. Well, we got those jeweled, those jeweled, those jeweled, and those jeweled. Looking pretty good. Pretty happy with this. All right, so now we can do a little bit more weathering. This is really going to be the fun bread and butter of the kind of the rest of the stuff we're going to be doing here. I want to blend in kind of some of these insignia. I think I'll leave this one be, but this one and this one will ding and bang up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and grab a bright gray. So this is Sky Gray from Vallejo. And this is going to be like my general scratch mark color on some of the areas on the primary armor on the fuselage. I'll just drop there. Look at me using fancy terms and shit. Fuselage. Body of the aircraft. Body of the spacecraft. Whatever. Let me go ahead and just kind of put a couple small ablation marks. I'm just stippling this, and then I'll kind of do like a single scratch, another one kind of crossing. Few around these edges, and these are going to look very distinct because we already have actual edge highlight markings on these areas, so these will stand out quite a bit. Try to continue that scratch down a little bit, just like so. Zoom in a little bit on this. Pretty simple. We'll add a little bit of dark color to the inside of this later to add a little bit of depth, as though the paint's been scored through and you can kind of see the material below. Good with that. Just gonna kind of create some ablation marks here. That kind of transition all over. So it's going to kind of look like something hit it. I'm going to add, again, some darker color within those lighter color boundaries. And this will make a lot more sense when we do that. Same thing, I'm going to kind of bang up the top edges up here. I'm going to kind of do that with some of these. Pretty much, I'm going to quickly do that. Just do a bunch of these. That way it won't look like I'm being hyper selective on just those areas. And this will create other areas for me to kind of add streak and grime to, because I want to add streak and grime to areas where I have scratches. Big scuff marks and burn marks and things like that. So I'm just going to kind of circumnavigate this thing, because this is like a higher, more prominent panel edge. Not going to do the same amount every single time on every single panel. Put a few over this one. That's good enough. And we've gone around the entire thing. It's kind of nice because you can just be really quick with this. You're just tap, 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 as you kind of turn this thing around. And that looks pretty bold. We're going to repeat the process with pretty much all the other ones, but we're going to not be as bold with these because not all of these areas would see the same volume of, I don't know, debris potentially as up there near the closer to the nose, and where the angle is slightly different. It's where you kind of got to think about things just a little bit. Yeah, higher friction areas, yeah. Just areas that are going to see more wear and tear. Potentially, that's why we have the little streaks on the nose here, just when it's, you know, leaving atmosphere, or just going through space, you know. It's being thrust from the other end. It's going to hit all kinds of bits of space dust and who knows what. Quickly tap, tap, tapping. Couple down here, but nothing much. Definitely do along that like hard edge there. I'll do kind of some of the side ones as well. Like we've already done some of these last stream. We'll do a couple up here. You can do this with some sponges as well. I did that earlier with some of these other areas, much earlier in like the first and second stream. But I'm doing more fine chipping and scratching here, so I want to use the brush. And again, I'm not going to do every single area the same here. You don't want that to be uniform necessarily. I mean, certain areas are going to wear out more uniformly, but that's going to be mostly on mechanical pieces, not just the exterior of ships where they're going to randomly hit things or randomly abrase against things. Cool. We'll do a couple going down these sides. We've already kind of done some up here. I don't want to do too many up there. We're not going to get too crazy with this. We'll come and add some actual scratches and some more larger, like ablating marks and stuff like that. Ablation marks, I should say, and abrasion marks, where paint's been scraped or kind of burned away. There. Sides of these panel lines. I'll just kind of do a quick little scratch there. Some more chipping marks down here, just because I kind of made a bit of a big smudge up there, so that's why I'm just going to spend a bit of time right there. Suppose I should probably hit a couple of these edges. Here. Let me get this one as well. I didn't really get this. For not a whole lot of work, we've got what looks noticeably more worn looking. Pretty nice. I like it. I dig it. I'm going to add a few more scuffs and scratch marks. Probably kind of do them coming down this way. So less is more when you do this. Just a little bit more up in here because I feel like these edges aren't really highlighted well up here. I feel like they got a little bit neglected. These are very bright with what I'm painting them with, but these will darken once I start adding some streak and grime in a little bit here. Streak and grime is really good at hinting everything, so these are better than others here. Got a few areas where I have edge highlighted and just some that I missed. I'm far from perfect. Big scratch across, I like that. Random. Cool. Try to be a little bit more steady here as I reinforce this. Put a nice big gouge in this. So I'll come in and paint a dark line in there and it'll look like a very deep gash. So kind of on either side of that panel line. Kind of gives a little bit of continuity to whatever might have caused this little mark. Spreads across both panels on either side of that panel line separation. Okay, brush is just getting a little bit dry there, so. Put a few other small ones down here. I love getting those really fine scratch lines. Those are always really fun. So, they're out of the way. You applying the grime wash in all the areas you applied the scratches? Yes and no. I'll be doing the grime in areas where I feel like rust and other greasy, oily substances would probably run, but I will also be doing them in certain high concentrations on some of these scuff and scratch marks. I am going to come in with like a mix of like dark brown and dark gray and kind of fill in some of these marks, and what it's going to do is create a 3D relief effect. So it'll look like you've kind of gouged through that material, and either there's a shadow being overcast on some of these scratches, or you just have scraped through to the material below. And even just those tiny little scratches, like they actually make a big difference. All these tiny little details, they make a very big difference in the overall effect that you're gonna have. It's the little details along with those bigger marks that we make, they really go a long way. Those little details are kind of the fluff that fill in the void. So don't ignore those. Definitely spend some time on those little ones. They're fun to do too. It's very organic. I really enjoy that process. Like, this looks just a lot more worn now that we've done all this. I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna use. No, I'll do this proper. I'm gonna use my preferred mix. So this is burnt umber from Dowler and Rowney. I also have black gray. This is from Vallejo. And black gray is just like a charcoal gray. It's almost black, hence the name black gray. It's essentially what we highlighted this area with. And then I have the burnt umber. This is a very heavily saturated brown that has, like, it's not very noticeable, but there's a bit of a yellow, high saturation, a yellow. So, here just slightly. I'm gonna touch my brush there to get a little bit of moisture. I'm just gonna pull this paint and ink together. So I'm gonna form what is essentially a very like dark brown gray. It's like a super, super warm, dark gray. zoom in just slightly so you can see better here. Doing. So as you can see, I'm just adding in and just a little bit of that darker color. Less is more, even, you know, like even on the gray stuff, you don't want to completely overwhelm the gray you've placed. Kind of come along the top edge, that gouge, and that makes it look like a slightly deeper gouge. Same thing over here. Again, this is a very fun organic step. Now, depending on the overall color of your miniature, like if you have something that is mostly gray, add a bit more brown into the mix. If you have something that is more heavily saturated in browns and yellows and oranges and stuff, add a little bit more gray into the mix. Just adjust based on the paint scheme that you're using this technique on. Not going to hit all these. A bunch of the prominent ones, pretty much all the prominent ones, and then a number of the less so prominent ones. Just randomly, as random as I can anyways. I don't want to create any patterning in this. Yeah, we'll just do this and oh, like this just helps to bring the decals into the paint job really well. You know, it looks like this emblem got scratched and dinged. And then we'll even add a little bit of streaking grime right there and streak it down, and it'll add a slight patina to this kind of bottom right quadrant of the emblem. Small details. This is weathering is where I really kind of get lost in the sauce, and it just helps make things look really good. You can get away with not edge highlighting everything and then kind of just going in and doing lots of scratches, and then that becomes like your edge highlighting almost. Depending on the overall look you're going for. But I am generally a big fan of weathering. I find it just makes everything look more realistic. When everything is clean and pristine, which I do like occasionally. Don't get me wrong, I do paint some pristine, clean stuff, but I also enjoy all of the grimy, grimdark shit. Just being very gentle here. Again, less is more. I don't want to overwhelm the other stuff that I've placed. Just looking for little indications that I've scraped through to the material below. We got our little top edges here. These are going to be good ones to do. Tone down some of the brightness. And that's the other thing too, in areas where it's just a little bit too bright, you can just kind of tone that down with this. Just like so. Cool. Going pretty well here. Looking to see if there's any other areas. I think, yeah, I'm gonna. This is an area where I kind of scuffed some paint. I'm just gonna add like kind of a few little scratch marks and stuff around here. some of this in a bit. And I'll come back in here with my my dark gray and brown mix. Just add a little bit that tone just to kind of tie this in a bit more. Go ahead and follow that scratch line as well, I think. That's good enough. The areas down near the landing gear, I'll hit with this a little bit more. Pretty good to go. Alrighty, I think we're just about ready for streaking grime. And then after that streaking grime, we're gonna get into some pigments. This is looking great. Really digging this. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cover my wet palette here, just because I don't want to. You know, I've had a couple herbal supplements this evening. I'll let you figure out what that means as an audience member, because I'm not going to spell it out loud. Pieces are all there on the table. You just got to put them together. I've had a few herbal supplements, so I don't want to make a stupid mistake and accidentally put my enamels on my wet palette, because that'll be just a bad time all around. I also don't want to mix water in with these, and I don't want to use this brush on my enamels or with my enamels in my enamels. I'm gonna cover that up. I have a nice little drawer for all my oil brushes and enamel brushes. Just gonna go ahead and grab, I have this tiny little detail brush here. This is kind of my go-to for things like this. Got some straight up streaking grime, just shaking this up. This is AK's streaking grime enamel color. Through this, it's kind of tight. A little bit in there. Dab, wiping my brush where there isn't water on my paper towel there. Do not mix water with this. Be very careful to not do that. I'm just going to go ahead and put some streaks down like that. So show you what I'm doing a little bit more closely. So I just applied a streak downward in a downward motion. Just using the stuff that's in the cap. Streaked it down there. Probably do the same here. Stuff that's in the cap is like a little bit more dry and firm. That downward streak as well. I'll do that kind of near this panel edge line right here as well. Just like so. Do one here. And I'm just going to tap, tap, tap on this one, and then kind of the same thing with this one. I'm just going to tap, tap, tap. Do like a... Oh, did a big one. That's totally fine. The nice thing with this is you can really ease off the amount of streaking grime that you have on there just by using white spirits to kind of scrub it away. I'll just leave a bit of a patina just going to come along here and do little wisps going down on some of these areas. All these areas where I've got like very obvious wear. Ones that are more prominent, they're going to get a lot more. The ones that are less prominent, less so. Because that just makes sense. But that's okay. Dirty up the edges that there. That one. Zoom out slightly, just that way while I'm brainstorming and deciding what I want to hit with this, you're not just looking at random things. Alright, I'm going to hit a few of these areas up here too, because I definitely need to. Also have some of this streak and grime that I have in like a different jar that I have really heavily thinned down. I use it as a wash sometimes, especially for terrain, but also for some miniatures if I want to have heavily weathered stuff. I'm gonna add like these big areas here. Amount here. So, those little wisps. I'll get a couple coming down here as well. There's more prominent edges. Kind of come in around some of these little metallic bits too. Just a couple of them. I don't want to get too crazy. Now I'm going to just set this brush down. I'm going to cap this off so I don't knock it over. Again, that'd be a really bad time. Slightly. So I've got a few different things. I have like pure white spirit in a container. I also have like my brush cleaning jar. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So if I use oils or enamels, just have some white spirit in here. Boom! I have a very clean brush. Gets rid of all that stuff, all that nasty gunk. Now, sometimes this can be handy when you do things like this. I don't need this anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and put this away. What I do need is chisel brush, but I don't really have the chisel brush that I want. I think I'm going to cannibalize one of my other chisel brushes here. Yep, we're going to cannibalize this one. So I want to get just a little bit of white spirits into this. That's going to soak up immediately. I'm going to wipe off all this excess, just like so. And into these areas where I've got streaks, I'm going to swipe down. Like so. That small amount of white spirit is going to kind of diffuse a lot of this, and you're just going to have like the patina that's kind of left. And there's some of these that we can kind of come back in with a little bit of the acrylic, what's it called? The Cryptek Armor Shade, and we can do some like more central hard lines to these. Some of these I'm gonna hit less. Around on there. Patina on that area. Starting to dry out, which is actually a good thing. The drier it is, the less you strip away. Streaky it'll get. Some of these other areas are drying quite well now. Grab just a little bit. Just grabbing a little bit of white spirits, added it to my brush, and just dabbing it off now. This area, kind of tinting down that star, but that's okay. That would happen. Some of that pretty stuff will get damaged, and this just looks more realistic. You can see a lot of these areas are starting to dry, and a lot of the shine is starting to go away. Looks very nice. That matte finish. Got that patina of those dark streaks coming down. Looks quite nice. Go ahead and hit some of these top areas. Zoom out slightly. I'm going to come back into some of these areas with my wash consistency of streaking grime. So I would like to, I'm going to go ahead and grab just a little bit more of this white spirits on my brush, dab off the excess. I would like to fill in some of these recesses, especially the landing gear. I kind of want to cover a bunch of those areas with the streaking grime. Keep streaking all the way down, that way I don't just have like an arbitrary end to where all this stuff deposits. Just a little bit more white spirits on my brush and take off the excess. I'm not going to rub that just because the white spirit can potentially do stuff to the paint if we rub it too much. I'm just going to grab a fresh piece of paper towel and see if I can dab up some of the excess. That's all we need to do. Don't need to fuss too much about that. Got a little bit. Some of that. I want to try and get some of that patina in there. Come back in with some of the actual wash consistency stuff. So they're looking pretty good. I'll zoom out just a little bit here. This is still drying, obviously, but some of the areas that have dried, they look pretty good. Nice and dirty, a bit dinged up, but nothing too crazy. You know, it just looks like a machine that's actually being used. like this area right here. I like these areas in here too. There's quite a few different tonal changes in all the colors. And not just from the weathering, just within the actual star field. In this area up here, this feels kind of bring the little freehand insignia into the paint job a bit more. Same thing with this decal. And that one as well. I kind of left that one largely untouched on purpose. I'm going to go ahead and grab my wash consistency stuff. I just have this in like an old fancy salt jar. I get these nice tasty black truffle salts from a company. I can't remember what it's called for the life of me, in St. Albert, Alberta. I order them. Can't remember the name. Doesn't matter. I'll advertise them next time if I remember their name. Yeah, they have really good black truffle salt, and I use this jar. Long story short. Find a little brush to use. This is good enough. This is not like super skinny, but it's also not fat either. I'm gonna kind of run this into some of the recesses, especially around some of these areas where I have a lot of rust. This little jar actually has like the tiniest amount of pigment powders that I accidentally contaminated it with. So it actually kind of helps to add to the dusty effect occasionally. Zoom in just slightly more. I don't want to crowd myself here in the frame, but because this is already pre-thinned with white spirits, it just kind of runs into those recesses on its own. So there's not a whole lot of coaxing I gotta do to get it to do its thing. My finger to kind of smudge away things that I don't like. You can see now that this is dry, there's quite the patina over here. Did on the other side. Definitely going to go down to the landing gear shortly and really slop it up over there. I'm going to come up into here too. I kind of wanted to get all these panels dirtied and tinted brown. Just like so. I don't want any crazy pooling. Just enough to tint things and give the indication. Pull that piece of paper towel off to the side and grab this one. Again, I'm just gonna tap that paper towel just to get a little bit of excess moisture or excess white spirits off. The areas that I'm gently cleaning up. These areas will dry. But yes, they look kind of shiny and weird right now, but they will dry. And I can always hit this with just a little bit of ultra matte at the very end. I don't really need to worry about the enamels. They're pretty hard and durable once they set and cure. But yeah, I'll probably hit the areas where we're going to put some of the pigments. I'll probably hit those with just a little bit of matte varnish at the very end. Grabbing a little bit of streaking brown, I'm going to add it to kind of a lot of the landing gear. It's just gonna dirty things up in a very nice way. I don't want to use too much of this because I kind of want this to start drying a little bit pretty quickly here, just because I do want to use a little bit of the pigment powders. So I'm not loading my brush up too much. Just a bit, like this streak and grime should be enough to really give an indication of like dirtiness. There's already, I mean, the way these are painted, they already look dirty. We don't need a huge amount. There's still a little bit of this stuff that is not quite dry in the recesses. It's not the end of the world when we add the pigment powders. It'll actually just kind of help them stick a little bit, but we want to be careful that we don't rub our applicator brush into the crevices much if there is some areas that aren't dry yet. Nice thing is white spirits tends to follow gravity, so it'll kind of run mostly down. If any starts pooling, I can just kind of wick it up with my brush and pull it away to help the drying process go a little bit more quickly. I could bust out an air dryer, like a hair dryer. I just don't really feel like I don't feel like doing that. Got 2 landing gear left. I loaded this one up a bit, but I'm just going to spread this out as much as I can. This other side, spirits to help with that process. You ever feel like you glob some of this stuff on too thick? Just add white spirits to your brush and rub it all over, and it'll kind of thin it out for you. Sometimes I get a little bit lost in the sauce with slopping it up with this stuff, so. I don't have like a specific ratio that I mixed this with. I just kind of like, I would say it's probably like 1 part streak and grime enamel to 3 or 4 parts white spirit, approximately. Just kind of thinned it until it was like, yeah, that's kind of the consistency I like, and I just let it fly. Go ahead and set that down. Go ahead and cap these off before I go ahead and knock them over by accident. I don't need to use them at the moment. Set these off to the side. Looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and just use my paper towel to kind of come along some of these areas and just wick away just a little bit of excess. Again, I just want to help that drying process. I'm only planning on streaming until about 10:30. These should dry relatively quickly, considering how fast all this stuff dried. This shouldn't take too long. I'm going to take a very brief break here for about 10 minutes. It is 9:51. We'll take a break until about 10:01. I'm going to go stretch my legs quickly, and just notice an area here that I kind of want to scrub out. This looked a little bit not good, not great. Just a big area of, seeing a bit of a big area of enamels that had kind of dried in a bit of a weird way. And I was just in that area where we had a little bit too much white spirits end up. I don't want to rub this too much because I don't want to damage anything below. Shouldn't, hopefully, just because I have the varnish on there, but you never know. I don't want to be too aggressive and accidentally start ruining my paintwork. That's never any fun. I think we'll just let it fly as is. Honestly, this thing's just dirty and filthy. Alrighty, we're gonna take our break now. Oop, and I just about knocked this over. We'll take our break now. It is 9:52, going on 9:53. We'll come back at 10:03, and this will be mostly dried and good enough for us to start with the pigment powders, and that'll kind of be the final touches for the actual kind of weathering stuff that we want to do on this. And then this is essentially done. I'll probably hit this with a very small amount of ultra matte varnish just on some of these areas to kill any shine, and then just at an oblique angle on these areas just to kind of act as a final fixer for the pigment powders and kind of seal them on there. I don't want to hit it directly with varnish on the pigment powders or else that'll kill some of the effect. Anyways, let's take a break, folks. 10 minutes. Alrighty, folks, we are back. We'll hop back over to the painting desk. I'm just going to swap over mics. Got my Diet Coke in hand, and this bad boy is dry. It's ready for some pigments. Oh yeah, let's get to it. Alrighty, folks. Take a big old swig of my beautiful Diet Coke. Zoom out slightly. This actually looks really, really nice. Zoom in slightly so all that streak and grime dried, and it has a nice matte finish. Once it's dry, you can kind of see it. It's like dried into all those little grooves and stuff. So this is actually going to help kind of form the base of our little dusty appearance that we're going to give with the weathering pigments. Now I am going to, I have a fan going in the background. I'm just going to go turn it off quickly. I probably should have done that already. I'm also going to grab a piece of paper towel and my spray bottle, as well as my other stuff for my pigment powders. So just take a second. So I like to keep, I have a few different methods that I use for my pigment powders. Sometimes I just put them straight up in here. I also do something else, which I'm not going to do here, but you can actually do yourself. Believe it or not, you can just use water in pigment powders, and you can use it almost like a wash, like a pin wash, and you can kind of force it into recesses around feet and stuff, and it looks like dust working its way into the recesses once it dries, and literally just with water. That's it. Very, very fun stuff. I've done this numerous times with a lot of my stuff. Just not doing it here. I just have some random old brushes that I use to apply my pigments. So I have my own personal mix of pigments. This is a mix of two colors that I have here. And that would be dark yellow from Secret Weapon Pigments. What's the other one here? The other one would be a little bit of burnt umber from AK. Boom. So I mix these two, and it gives me this kind of like mid-tone brown. I really like it. It's a good like general dirty, dusty kind of color. Pardon me. I'm not really going to use these. I just pulled them out just because I had to access my brushes, and I figured I'd show you what I do with them sometimes, or tell you what I do. I'm just going to use the container here. I'm going to grab this big crazy brush, just because when I place it in it, it actually grabs quite a bit of pigments. I'm just going to tap it so I knock off some of the excess stuff that would fall if I was just moving this around. I don't want to do that. Zoom in slightly. I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to move my just moving in my paper towel underneath a little bit. Just kind of coming around. I'm not going to work them in just yet. I just want to get some on all of these, and then we'll start working in or removing excess. We'll either work in this stuff into recesses, or we'll remove what we feel like excess. What we feel is excess, rather. Like there's definitely some excess right here. I'll start kind of working into recesses a little bit. Come back to that side. Now there's a few ways you can fix this. Some people will use alcohol. You just use isopropyl and you kind of mist it on. I personally don't do that. I just hit this with a little bit of matte varnish at a very oblique angle, never direct, and just kind of like mist around it at an oblique angle, not quite directly hitting it, and that's usually what I do. That's not good. Definitely didn't want to hit all that. That's a big oopsie. That's okay. Swipe down. Get a little bit of moisture in this sponge. And I'll just kind of gently wipe. Oops. Show you what I'm doing just to kind of repair this quickly. And then, yeah. Having some pigments on the bottom of the dropship is going to happen anyways. I'm intending on doing that. I just didn't want to spray it all up in there. That's okay. Keep working all this in. Now I'm just going to kind of gently blow from the top down, kind of from this angle. I want to make sure that when I'm blowing, I'm not blowing in a direct line to this thing. I'm gonna do some of the sides here, the drop chip. We kind of get the other side dirty, so we kind of got to get a little bit all over everything here. Do our due diligence to make sure this is not uniform, but you know, like kind of get some continuity. Coming down with just gonna kind of tap. Tap just to kind of smudge. These are actually little makeup sponges, little makeup sponge swabs. This is kind of hilarious. This is the kind of, you know, they're meant to kind of smudge makeup and whatnot. Here I am smudging pigment powders, which may as well be like, I don't know, blush or something. My dropship's blushing. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something funny to say while I just try to make this look kind of good. It's very streaky now, so I'm gonna tap. Get stuff off the top area here. Right on, this is what we really got to worry about. We're not going to be ever looking at it from underneath like this. So we got to worry about side on. I'm going to go ahead and close up my pigment powders, that way I don't make an unfortunate mess. I'm just going to literally grab all that in. Let's use back in my little cubby. Everything goes back to its home. So I'm done using them. Nothing stays out, everything goes away. Zoom out slightly. So here's what we're working with. zoom out just a little bit more so we can actually see the whole thing, I guess. There we go. Nice and dirty, but reasonably dirty, not unreasonably dirty. Like, it's dirty in the right places. Digging this. So this is essentially done. I'm gonna go ahead off camera. Not gonna do it on camera. I'm gonna do this at a later time, not tonight, because my daughter is sleeping. Same with my wife. I'm gonna again hit this with just a little bit of varnish up top, kind of direct, and then indirectly I'm gonna kind of just use a little bit of matte varnish to help fix a lot of these pigment powders in place. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This thing's good to go, ready for tabletop action. Probably gonna honestly just have this sitting on top of the shelf that is at the top of my computer desk, because this thing looks pretty cool. Alrighty, we'll hop back over to my computer desk and we'll close out the show with a few comments and updates. And yeah, it was a good show tonight. Not quite a full 2 hours, but this was good. I enjoyed this. Very happy to have finished this. Let me know in the chat what you think. Boom. Okay, folks. So we made it to the end. All told, spent about 12 hours on this thing from beginning to end. Yeah, I mean, this thing was painted entirely on stream. This is the 4th stream now. And yeah, this is hours 11 and 12. Just shy of 12, so pretty good. Not bad for all the stuff that we did. Very achievable. I really hope that if you're a beginner and you've been kind of watching this, that it kind of takes away some of the fear of using an airbrush and maybe using a sponge and trying a couple different techniques to kind of get a really neat paint job in the end, especially on a big thing like a dropship. Those map scale dropships are honestly not a bad thing to practice stuff like that on, so definitely give it a go. Next project, it's going to be what came up number 2 in the poll leading up to this. It was between the dropship and 10 clan mechs the paint scheme was the same. So that is correct. These 10 clan mechs are going to be getting painted in Alpha Galaxy scheme. So we're going to basically do this exact same paint scheme, but we're going to do it at 6mm scale with the mechs. It's going to be good. We're going to start that on Saturday. That'll be pretty fun. We'll do kind of the airbrush layering and basic highlighting and kind of the beginnings of the blue star fields on all the mechs. We'll see how far we can get through on the star fields. I think we'll probably be able to get to kind of the same stage that we got to with the dropship in the first stream. I think we'll probably be able to get through all the star field stuff, just not all the edge highlighting, but that's fine. We'll do that the following stream. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. I'll put some updates later on this week. It's going to be good. With that, I think we'll just close out. This was really good. I really enjoyed doing weathering. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for sticking through to the end. I'm going to bid you folks a good night. Happy Monday. Enjoy your week. I will see you folks on not Thursday. Not going to do this Thursday. I'll see you on Saturday. Saturday at 7:30 Central. Have a good night, folks.